This season of Moments with Ndero podcast is powered by workspaceglobal.com, branding made easy. Hey, welcome to season 7 of Moments with Ndero podcast, a space where you will be inspired, encouraged, and uplifted. Wherever you're tuning in from, I truly appreciate you. Thank you so much. If you're watching on YouTube, like, share, or subscribe. And if you're listening, do leave a review. Today's guest is a Christian wife and mom of 3 with a virtual counseling practice. She is also counselor, coach, and the founder of Light and Life Consult, an online mental health hub. She has been a counseling practitioner for over 10 years with a special focus in person-centered therapy and CBT, with an interest in how the family cultural dynamic and upbringing frames individual mental well-being. Welcome onto the show, Phoebe.
Thank you so much, Anthony. So good to see you.
You know, I've just read all of these words. They're like tongue twisters.
I'm so sorry.
It's okay. But just to narrow it down, who is Phoebe?
Wow, that's such a great question. So I am an advocate. I'm an advocate for holistic living, being wholesome, connecting the dots just between mental well-being, physical well-being, spiritual well-being. And I am especially passionate about the family dynamic and framework and how that, tunes in to who we become as individuals. And I think it's very sad to see how the family framework is being broken up into pieces, is being attacked. And it's increasingly obvious that it's affecting individual mental health and our holistic well-being, and is causing, such a catastrophe all over the world. So those are the things that I really stand for. I really believe in investing in young people and starting them off on the right leg so that in the future, they become responsible, wholly tuned in adults, that are part of our society, that are making the best contributions and, that are healthy and sound, and I think that is the fabric, that's the most important fabric of modern society and civilization.
I hear you.
Yeah.
You just look at how the world is transitioning and you're like, the family is under attack. And unfortunately,
Yes.
the casualties in these scenarios are children. And
Yes.
It's interesting that when we become adults and when we start reflecting and choosing to heal, we recognize that our compulsive tendencies or our unhealthy habits have a root in our childhood. So
very true.
Just take us a little bit deeper, the importance of childhood and how it actually has a great impact in adulthood.
Okay, so I think one of the biggest conversations around upbringing or child upbringing is the tension between nature and nurture. And we do know that, every individual that is born comes out predisposed to certain or develops certain affinities, predisposed to certain things that they like, certain desires. But the nurturing environment is very important for a person, an individual, to develop in a manner in which they feel confident in themselves. They're able to articulate their particular needs very clearly. And most importantly, they also are able to develop, the ability to deal with adversity. And so, some people say they develop thick skin, but that is a very, shallow way of putting it. But they're able to deal with adversity. They're able to face challenges and overcome. They need to develop that confidence in themselves that they have the tools and they have the wherewithal to deal with the challenges of life. And so the nurturing environment is so key. And that is one of the areas that is taking a very huge hit, where they're putting a lot of the onus on children to figure out who they are and to develop by themselves without these pillars of support, which are the parents, the home, and the community. So all these things are being stripped away from them, and they are limping towards an uncertain future. They're struggling to see a clear road ahead of them, because this is the beauty of, the marriage between history and modernity, because based on the knowledge that we've developed, we know the kind of things that we need to become healthy human beings, such as understanding the framework of society, our rules, our laws, understanding what's it called, like all the historical facts that we have, how to nurture a person, how to take care of them, discipline, all these things, love and care. There was actually a study done a couple of years ago, which was very horrific. And there were a number of children who were born, and they were given everything that they needed. They were given food, they were sleeping, they're being nurtured in that way. The only thing that was taken away from them was love and care. So they didn't get any eye contact with their parents or with their, caregivers. And these babies died because of the lack. Yes, because of the lack of this nurture. So it just goes to show that, it's such a complex group of factors that go into the development of a child. And I can't go into all of them, but it's so key in being aware of what these factors are and tuning in and making an effort, not just as a parent, because I know a lot of times we look at just the parents, but as a community, as a society, that we realize that we have to care for these children, keep them safe, and help them to develop.
You've said that they all died, and it's just like the importance of love and affection, and something as small as eye contact. We downplay that, but children really, really need to know that you see them in that moment, you acknowledge what they've done, and that you appreciate them. So what happens to us as adults, or what is the cause for adults where we withhold this affection? We withhold the nurturing aspect of the home. What are the factors that cause us as adults to not be present in children's lives?
First and foremost, I think it's our lack of understanding of how critical these needs are. I believe that even culturally and traditionally, a lot of us as parents have been told that the essentials for a child is got to do with housing them, especially within our African cultural context. It's like you have to make sure they are fed, they are housed, they have clothes to wear, and then they have a great education. There's not enough emphasis put on, affection, time spent together, doing activities together, all these other things that, we kind of think that they are not part of the essentials. So it's more like, okay, if I have the time, I'll spend, play this game with my child. We don't see it as an essential. We don't see it as being very critical to their mental and emotional development. We don't see that it's critical for us to get outside, kick a ball with them in the sun, because it's part of their physical development, helping them to understand their bodies, their motor skills, all these things. They are all tied in. And you as a parent, you are the first point of call when it comes to giving your child this knowledge. And so we like to relegate it to other caregivers, such as teachers and aunts and nannies and other people, but we don't see ourselves as being given this important and vital role that we have to play in their lives. And so this lack of understanding is why, our homes are not particularly framed that way.
Especially for us, dear Africans. Oh dear, the child is fed, the child has gone to school. What more? What more does a child need?
Nah, that's all. We've done our best.
But it also brings up the point of, because you're not really paying attention in the home, or you don't want to give attention to the child. So let me just take them to school. The teachers can take care of them. The nannies can take care of them. And I can just live my life. And in the evening, maybe I'll just check up on them for maybe a few minutes. But anyway, someone else is dealing with them. So it begs a question then. Is the traditional way of teaching children or letting them go to school the right way? Or the alternative of homeschooling? Is it good, or what's the way forward to ensure that we are not, as parents, giving off those responsibilities to third parties when in fact we should be the ones present and at the center of our children's upbringing and education?
You know, there are a number of questions we have to ask ourselves, and we need to do a bit of soul searching before we can completely answer that question. I'm not completely against traditional schooling or saying homeschooling is the only way. You were mentioning microschooling, and now there are charter schools. They're different. The schooling comes in so many different forms. But the question that as parents we need to ask ourselves, or caregivers, is why am I sending this child away for this number of hours in a day? We need to get to the crux of the matter. What is our why? Is it because my parents did it, my friends are doing it, that's the way it has been? Like, you need to get down to the brass tacks and ask yourself why you're making that decision for your child. And it turns out that a lot of us sometimes do feel overwhelmed and frustrated with caring for these children for so many hours a day. And then you have to ask yourself, why are you feeling overwhelmed and frustrated? What expectations do you have of yourself and your child do you believe have to be met? That by them not being met, you feel as if you have to delegate this responsibility to someone else. And then when you break it down further, you realize, okay, I feel I have to do this. Who told you have to do all these things? Okay, let's look at it very carefully. We're trying to educate the child. What is education? What is learning? And look back into your past. Were there any aspects of the learning strategies that were used? Were they always wholesome? Were they always beneficial? When you look at yourself as an adult, do you really feel as if you pursued the discipline that you really were interested in? Did you feel as if the approaches that were used really benefited you as an individual, vis-a-vis your learning style? So these are questions you have to ask yourself before you make any. I mean, actually, there are quite a number of questions that you have to ask yourself. There's a questionnaire for that before you make that choice. And that's what I'm saying, that traditional schooling is not completely bad. But for a parent putting their child in a traditional school, you have to keep remembering that you are the child's first teacher. You are completely responsible for the child's learning, the education, and you must not relegate it to someone else, because once they're in a class and they're away from you, you don't know what they're learning. And so you have to play a very extremely active role to pursue and to find out what the child is learning in school, because the child is your responsibility. And that begs the question, is the child the responsibility of the state, the school, or is the child your responsibility, or the parent? That's another question you have to ask yourself. Why is your child the responsibility of the state? Why is your child the responsibility of the school? The child is your responsibility. You've been given that charge. And so for parents who put their kids in traditional schools, you have to go the extra mile to really look into the curriculum, the ethos of the school, the belief systems, the strategies, the approaches, the pedagogies that they're using in the school. You have to really spend time getting to know your child's teacher. You have to be, in fact, you have to be very close.
Yes.
Really get to know that person, because that person is taking your child for a typical school takes a child from 8 a.m. to 1 p.m. How many hours is that? That's about 5 hours of the day. I'm even being conservative. Most schools now are doing like 7 hours.
Yes.
That what percentage of the child's awake time is that? That's the maximum percentage. That parent, that teacher, that administrator has more influence over your child than you do.
Mm.
So who is that person?
Yes.
And what are they teaching them? Exactly. So these are some of the questions that, you know, we really need to pay attention to, and we need to ask yourself. And then alternative, if you're going to homeschool,
yes,
why do you want to homeschool? What is the purpose of your homeschooling? What is homeschooling to you? It's not just, oh, wake up when we want. Are we putting a structure in place? You know, and all these things. They are very, very, very essential. What steps are you taking to develop your child? It's not just about the academic curriculum. What kind of skills do you want them to learn? How do you want them to develop emotionally? And so you need to create a framework for your child. And it takes a lot of work. How much time do you have? How much time are you willing to commit to that purpose and to that work? You know, all these things are very essential. And so you have to really take the time to break it down. You as a parent need to also break yourself down and ask yourself, how much of yourself are you willing to commit to either path?
Yes, because it comes down to commitment. You can't start something and then along the way become wishy-washy and be half-hearted about it. It needs full commitment. So let's say the parent decides to choose homeschooling. Does it really prepare children for the world?
It depends on what approach the parent uses. But I think we are quick to say it doesn't. But short of locking your child in the house 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, your child will be exposed to the outside world. And that is, for me, believing that you as a parent also has, what's it called? You have a life outside the house. You have friends. You have a community that you're engaging with daily. You're going to the grocery store. You're going to church. You're going to, you know, you have all these events that are happening around you that your children can take part in. Once your child is able to engage with society on any level, they are going to learn about the world outside their home. But you also, like I said, have to be proactive in helping them to learn how to engage with the outside world. So for instance, you go to the grocery store, how do you prepare your child to behave in that, you know, in that place? You know, how are you teaching your child about commerce, about buying and selling and choosing products, and about health through diet and why we eat what we eat? Like, there's so many opportunities there. And through all that, and their interactions with the other people in the store, seeing other children, all these things, taking them to the playground, all these things give them the opportunity to be exposed to other people. But you just have to have a strategy.
So to just build on from what you've just shared, that there are different aspects within the day or week that they can interact with other people or the world. But let's say, for example, you have a child who's, let's say, very sporty, and you can see that they have that ability and that gifting. How then do you nurture that gift, considering now that you are homeschooling them, but you can see they have this sporting gift? How do you make sure that they are plugged into a sporting group or activities to ensure that they are building that talent within them?
I love that question. And, you know, interestingly enough, right now, I think because there's such a growing awareness, and just like, you know, children in a typical school or in a traditional school, a lot of times they do find themselves doing activities outside the home anyway. They go for sporting events. Maybe the school does not offer horse riding. They'll find a horse riding school to attend. Or maybe the school does not offer cricket. They find it. So these services are available, and you can still enroll your children in all these sporting centers. So it doesn't mean that because they're being homeschooled, they will not interact with other children. They can explore the other interests. In fact, that the wonderful thing about homeschooling is that you're able to hone in on your child's particular specific interests rather than just exposing them to a whole plethora of, disciplines and say, okay, study this, study this. But rather they're able to fine tune and, work on their specific expertise. And, depending on the kind of curriculum that you're going to use, you also can help them to develop a love for learning. So it's not just about studying a subject, it's about enjoying the pursuit of knowledge, which is what I love about home-based or homeschooling, home-based learning or home schooling. You can help your child to just enjoy learning, and you can use different media, different approaches. You can use YouTube, you can use music, you can use audiobooks, you can go outside, you can do all sorts of things. But the thing about being in a classroom with, say, 25 other children or more, getting that attention, that specific specialized attention to your needs and to your interests is going to be way harder to achieve than if you, the parent, are spending time with your child, you're developing them, and then it becomes like a 24-hour project. Not saying that they're in class for 24 hours, but you're aware of who they are and who they are becoming, and all your efforts are in helping them to develop into the people that they are meant to be. So your child says, you see, your child likes to perform, like my son, who was child, he's 3, and he likes to reenact Bible stories. So I'm like, okay, you know what, guys, it's summer break. Let's try and put together a play, and we'll see if we can get like costumes and stuff like that. And he got so excited, I mean, him and his sister. And I'm like, let's see how that's gonna go. Let's see if we can spark some interest there, because he can remember lines and he's 3.
Wow.
And I'm like, how would that look like if he was in a traditional school? I mean, I don't know. I'm not saying that. Our teachers do such amazing work. They go to such great extremes. I think teachers are not paid enough, to be very honest.
True.
But, basically they're put in a setting that doesn't really serve the purpose of helping the individual child really flower and develop into the unique person that they could be.
That's so powerful. Keep nurturing that gift within him, the performer in him. I love to hear it.
Yeah.
So, what I'm hearing is full commitment and ensuring that the child gets to learn all that they need to learn at different stages of their educational journey. But here's the thing. Mommy and daddy are not robots, right?
No.
They're not robots. And everyone is in each other's space 24/7. So how do you ensure that you each have a break from each other? You each have time for yourselves to ensure that you're not also being burnt out, and that your entire well-being is still being upheld.
I see I love the question. In a standard school, classes run for how many hours? 4 hours, 5 hours?
5 to 6. For us guys here in Kenya, it's longer, maybe 5 to 6.
Wow. Okay, that's long. In a homeschool, you don't have to have lessons for 6 hours.
True.
So that's the wonderful thing about it. I mean, there's this homeschooling mom. I love her content, and she's called the 90-minute school mom. So she said, look, I only do homeschool for 1 hour, 30 minutes. Everything else is discovery, adventure, break time, quiet time, and as a homeschooling parent, whether you're mom or your dad, it's very essential that you put in those breaks for yourself. Because like you're saying, you need to take a break from the day. You need to take a break. And that's why you can institute quiet time, activity time, painting, whatever for the child, depending on their age. you're able to create that nook and that niche for yourself. And as a parent as well, you can use the weekends. If you're the main homeschooling parent, you can use that time to take a break, get out of the house, do something for yourself, meet up with friends. And so it's the mindset behind it is not that, you don't have time for yourself after you make this decision to pursue this type of learning. That is not what we're advocating for. And this is something I even share with other moms. I'm like, we need to teach our children to have compassion for us. And that is something, they need to have empathy for us. Our children are being taught that they're the center of our world and there's nothing else happening. All the planets are revolving around them. It doesn't happen that way.
Yes.
So, you see a child that has narcissistic tendencies because the parents are like, everything is about you. I buy everything for you. And then even when you get frustrated, when it gets overwhelming, you lash out because you do realize that, everything is about the child and you don't even have any time for yourself to take a breather. And this goes for all parents, whether you're homeschooling or taking your kids to school, that you need to teach your children that we take care of one another. And one of our sayings in the house is, my husband's name is Gbesemete. He said, Gbesemetes take care of each other. And I always tell my kids, we take care of each other. It's not about you over me, me over you. We all watch out for each other. And they are learning, that essence. I'm like, we take care of each other. So it's not always about you. The focus is not always on you. And teaching your kids that from a young age will help you have the time to take a breather, go on breaks, do what you need to do. And then you need to set up those boundaries with them as well. And the fact of the matter is when they go out into the world, that's what it's like. You can't just walk into your boss's office.
True, you can't.
When you feel like it's, you can't just take liberties, Yeah. So it's good that you do it at home.
Yes.
When you go to a restaurant, there's a certain way we behave. Teach them all these ways. And that's what I love about this learning path, that you can influence them in a much greater capacity than when they're away from you. Because when they're away from you, there's so many influences, there's so many dynamics that are in play that you're not aware of. That when your child comes back, you're like, who's this? I don't quite know where you picked this from.
Yeah.
And then it can be quite challenging. So
yeah, I hear you. And I just love the fact that you're teaching them compassion for you as a parent, because I think many people out there neglect that, teaching their children to recognize they're not the center of attention. We're part of a family unit. We're a team. We take care for each other, and you're not more important than we're not important. Basically, we are here and we're equal and we should love each other. And I think that is so important. And I wish more people could do that, because you actually see when you interact with other families or you interact with society, the shortcomings of parenting, where a child is raised to believe that they are the center of attention. And unfortunately, it transcends into an employee or a boss who's very narcissistic. And then it's just like, who are your parents?
Yes. Even romantic relationships.
Yes.
And that's where I'm seeing that a lot. And, you see these individuals who don't care about their partner, don't care about their feelings, don't care about anything.
Yeah.
And then you're the same question, like, who raised you? Why don't you have any empathy for anyone, but yourself? What's going on? And you find out that they were raised in such a setting. But you also find those, and I'm come back to our cultural setting as well. Usually when parents give children chores, it's like they give them an order. You have to go get the remote for me. But I think that we need to go beyond just giving them these short commands to, could you please get me a cup of water because I'm thirsty and I'm really feeling tired. I've had a long day, so I'd really appreciate if you get me a cup of water. Could you please open the door for me? I'm just going to pick up your little sister. She's crying and I need an extra hand. I really need your help getting that blanket. Could you please bring that volume down? I have a headache and it's when they're younger, they won't understand. But when you get into that habit, what happens, like I said, they're starting to understand that you're also a human being.
Yes. Yes.
You're also a human being. You have feelings, you get hurt, you have times when and I'm very blessed to say that my oldest daughter, she gets it.
Okay.
And she would go like, everybody stop. Mommy says she's tired. Give her some time to rest. Like she's not perfect, but she's getting that awareness because we need to even watch the way we communicate with them in order for them to gradually learn that we take care of each other, we support one another, and that's how we build a stronger community.
You were going to say that you're going to mention about the African setup.
Yes, so that's what I was saying, that usually when we are asking someone for something, especially a younger person, we don't give a reason.
I know, right?
Just get it. Just do it. And it's like, I don't owe you an explanation. I mean, I do understand that there are times when, you have to exert your authority, but then you also have to look at what type of authority figure do you want to be?
Yes.
And what kind of lasting lessons you want your children to have. Even when it comes to discipline, how do you want them to see discipline? Do they see it as a way in which my parents are trying to prevent me from getting hurt in the future by stopping me from doing anything wrong, or teaching me how to rebound from something wrong I've done? You have to do a lot of the work, the inner searching as a parent before you start to make those decisions. Like, you shouldn't make knee-jerk decisions based on what someone else is doing, based on what you experience, based on what someone else counseled you. You need to figure out your why. And then it also starts with trying to ask yourself, what kind of people do I want my children to be in the future? Yes. Do I want them to be my friends? Do I want to have a great relationship with them? Do I want them to be traumatized? Do I want them to be struggling in their relationships? And do I want them to be emotionally disabled? And you have to ask these questions when you're making these decisions.
Yes, you just have to. Who are you raising? What type of people are you raising for society? Yes.
Exactly.
So you've been a counseling practitioner for over a decade. So with your experience, how do you guide people as they raise their children to not, transfer their generational pain, their generational burdens onto their children?
That's a very good question. How do we stop the trauma from continuing beyond me?
Yeah.
It starts with the individual. And when it comes to trauma related issues, especially within the African family context, it can be very challenging because to a large extent, I don't think we still fully grasp how challenging it is when we don't deal with our own personal emotional issues and then we transfer them to our children. But I also believe that working with a parent who says, I don't want to carry this forward, one of the things that I try not to impose on them is feelings of guilt. Because it can be a strong sense of guilt that, I didn't deal with this. A lot of parents who will come to me and say, I've noticed I'm doing this, and they're feeling this heavy sense of guilt. And when you experience a heavy sense of guilt, it actually doesn't help you to recover, and it doesn't help you to see beyond whatever actions you're taking, whether you're physically beating your child because you're angry, because it was done to you, because you saw it, whether it's you're becoming emotionally distant from your child, or you're comparing your children, all these, all these practices, whatever it is, first and foremost, you have to understand that it's something that you have learned, it's something you have been exposed to. And just by admitting that you need to make a change is the biggest step. So to these parents, I say congratulations to you for seeing that a change needs to come. And yes, it may come later than earlier, because based on when you realize that it's something that needs to be dealt with. But just the fact that you want to deal with it and work on it, kudos to you. And that is a very big step in breaking that generational challenge or issue. And we start working from there. First, you have to forgive yourself, forgive the people who may have, been the perpetrators, whether it was your parents, your grandparents, your uncle, auntie, whatever it is. And sometimes there are deeper issues than that. But whatever it is, you need to work through that, let it go, and then begin to see your parenting, you as a parent, as a fresh new page. I always say it's a new page, it's a new book. Yes. And you're starting a new story, and you're not part of that story. And then we start from there. But then you have to, like I've been talking about, you have to build your own framework. You have to have your own vision. You have to have your own goals. And it has to be based on sound information. Like, you must know, why are you doing this? And it must also be based on who you are. And that's the thing about homeschooling. Some people think that it's just about the children, it's just about the children. But you as a parent, the type of person you are would determine what type of homeschooling parent you be, or for instance. And so you also have to take into account the kind of person. Do you like music? Do you like dancing? Do you like talking? Do you like this? Do you like gardening? All these things to come into play. So don't put yourself aside and your beautiful personality and just say, no, it's just about my kids, So it's a very integrated approach. But when they start to see that they're capable and that they have the wherewithal, they're equipped, then you see them light up and say, okay, I'm ready to do this. Awesome. And it's so fantastic. Yeah.
Awesome. So let's switch gears a little bit and play a game called This or That.
Okay.
Yes. So the first one is text or call?
Oh gosh, it depends. These days it's text because I have 3 people talking.
So text it is.
No, but I usually prefer calls, but now it has to be text. Yeah.
Okay. Soda or juice?
Oh, juice.
All right. Yeah. Introvert or extrovert?
I'm an ambivert. I'm in between.
Explain that, because I've been seeing that ambivert term. What is ambivert for someone out there who's like, what are they talking about?
An ambivert is one who displays the traits of an introvert and an extrovert. Mm-hmm. Yes. So.
And does the surroundings play a role in that as well, like where they are?
It really does. So, depending on the setting, an ambivert can show up, and be very lively, very engaged. Yes. But when they've been overstimulated, that's when their introverted self kind of shows up and it's like, okay, we've been exposed enough. We need to go back and refuel and get back out there. So you see, and it's very funny. A lot of extroverted people actually, or so-called extroverted people, are like that. They're like, when they've gone to a certain point, they're like, no, I have to retreat and go into my nook and go and refuel. Come back. Yes.
I totally relate. It's like, I'm done. My bandwidth has been stretched.
Yes. Thanks. Let me throw my phone away. Let me just, yeah.
The next one is ice cream or cake?
Cake.
Yeah.
Cake.
Yeah. Movies. Okay. Movies or TV shows?
TV shows.
Any that is standing out for you right now?
Yeah, which is so weird and interesting. So I don't know if you guys know the show Frasier.
Yes.
Yes, I started rewatching Frasier.
That's a brilliant show. They don't make them like that anymore.
They don't. I've
They
actually been
don't.
going back to the old shows, and it's really refreshing just to see like real, proper, movie acting and theater. It's
Yes.
nice. Yeah.
And good
Yeah.
comedy, like landing the line and
Good
just,
comedy. Yeah.
yeah,
Hilarious. It's
very.
not political. It's
Yes.
just for the laughs. Yeah, I enjoy that. Yeah.
Awesome. To give or to receive?
I think I'm a giver. But yeah, I love to give. I love to give. I
Awesome.
love to, yeah, yeah.
And the last one, friends or family?
Family first always, but some of my friends have become like family, so it's yeah.
Nice. Nice, nice,
Yeah.
nice.
Yeah.
So as we wind down this conversation, is there anything else that you want to share that you didn't get a chance to share?
Well, I just want to say thank you so much. I would love to have a longer conversation about
I
this.
know,
And
I know.
Tony, you've asked some great questions, and I'm like, okay, we need to really dive deep into this. But
Yeah.
yes, like I said, there's no guilt whether you are able to homeschool or not, and whether your child goes to a traditional school. I think as parents, we have to also be thankful for the privilege of raising these little ones. And I believe one of the reasons why parenting is so daunting and terrifying for a lot of people is because we think we have to do all these things to make them happy. We have to give them all these things to make them happy. And we have to spend all this money to make them happy.
Yeah.
Or we have to always, and there's always some form of expectation. And I just want to say, parents out there, that, keep it simple and keep it real. Focus on the love you have for your child. That transmits and translates more than anything else you could do, more than anything else you could give them. Be there for them. Even if you can't be there for them all the time, when you're there with them, put your phone away, put all the distractions away. Yeah. Let them know how much they matter to you. This time is fleeting. It will be over and they'll be out of your house, and you'll be trying to remember the cuddles and the smiles and the trips. And so invest in the things that will last. And the things that last are just wholesome memories with your children, with your family. One thing that my husband and I, we've been thinking, or we've been focusing on, is experiences over physical things, over gifts. And so spend more time making memories with your child. And yeah, they will always remember you for it. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Phoebe. I truly, truly enjoyed this conversation. Thank you so much.
So did I. So
Yes.
did I.
Loved it.
Thank you so much.
So to whoever's listening or watching, I hope you picked something from this conversation. For me, who do you want to raise? That is such a powerful question to ask ourselves. Who do we want to raise? Because sincerely, our children, our nieces and nephews are the future generation. So let's take time to reflect on those questions. So until the next episode, continue being brave.